When I say Seoul, South Korea, what do you think of? If you ask my wife, she would tell you K-dramas, cosmetics, K-pop. Growing up idolizing StarCraft players, my mind goes to a high-tech and modern society where people's work ethic has given them the strength to punch far above the weight of a relatively small population. And this drive is exactly what led Seoul to be what it is today. South Korea's rapid economic growth is shown as a shining example of how a country can rise from an otherwise small, insubstantial, war-torn peninsula to an economic and cultural powerhouse of the world. Standing directly in contrast to its neighbor to the north, people refer to Seoul as the miracle of the Han River. But going to Seoul, you'll learn that it's anything but a miracle. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how we spent our 7 days in Seoul. And it's going to be a lot of what I mentioned. Korean culture, past and present, through the perspective of both myself and my wife. And hopefully this inspires you to visit on your own. Seoul is one of the cities that we wanted to go to for a long time, but it's kind of evaded us a little bit. So we're super excited to get to finally go. We ended up arriving super early. It was about 5 a.m. So we had to kill a whole day before we could finally get to sleep. So we walked around, found our hotel, dropped our bags off. So our hotel was in Myeongdong, which is kind of a popular area. We basically got food at the first place we saw. We got some Gimbap and some tteokbokki. Korean staples, really. It's pretty good, and they gave us a little keychain for reviewing them on Google. So after that, we just kind of explored the area. There's a bunch of little accessory stands, skincare shops, like the Olive Young you see everywhere. Basically beauty products, face masks, K-pop, K-drama, fan merch, etc. After we got tired of doing that, we kind of just wandered north. There's this little river that you see in all the K-dramas. Everyone goes to this river, and you can see why. It's pretty picturesque. It's cute. You'll see a lot of people like taking photos on these little stepping stones. And of course, the other thing Korea is known for is all the cafes. You can't go a block without seeing another cafe. You will never be starved of coffee in Korea. This one was right by that river. It's called Paper Mache, and I don't know if it was the time we went at or what it was, but there's really no one in there. But it was pretty cute. It had good vibes, had this lavender cake thing that Tiffany loved, and of course they always have pretty good coffee at these cafes. And right by this cafe was first stop for me, Lol Park. Now Lol Park is basically where they film all the professional League of Legends games, but they basically built like a merch store and a PC bang. We kind of peeked in, took some pictures, looked at all the merch, but didn't really buy anything, didn't go to the PC bang. And if you don't know what a PC bang is, stay tuned because I'm gonna get into it in detail later. I did end up going to one after many unsuccessful attempts. So after that, we kept wandering around the area, and if you just wander around Korea, you'll just find stuff. Like we found this beautiful temple. It had all these little head statues and decorations, and it was super cool to check out and take pictures of. I'll put the names of all these places. It's a little rough to pronounce, but I believe it's called Jungmyo Shrine. So we successfully killed a bunch of time, grabbed our backpacks, and it was time for a little dinner. And things are definitely livened up a bit. Like Seoul definitely gives me the impression that it's more of a nightlife city. People come out at night. It's super fun to just wander the streets at night, see all the lights, see all the people. Just good vibes. I couldn't really stomach a full meal at this point, so we went to this like chain salad restaurant, and then we basically called it a night. So day 2, we decided to make the trip to Gangnam, which everybody knows Gangnam at this point, but I had heard a lot about how Gangnam's not really a good tourist destination. It's kind of financial. I think generally I would kind of agree. So first thing we did was we went looking for a coffee, just to find out no coffee shops open until like 10 a.m., which is a little crazy to us. We were up at 8 a.m. walking around. We were pretty much the only ones out. So we decided to go to this library/mall that we saw on TikTok. It said it also didn't open until 10 a.m., but we just went anyway to see if we could find anything. And even though the stores in the mall technically weren't open, the doors of the mall were open. So we actually had this whole like library thing to ourselves. It was pretty awesome. If you plan on going to this, definitely go before the mall opens because there's gonna be no one there. Gangnam was like 45 minutes away, so by the time we got there and took all our pictures, it was almost 10 o'clock. But still, we couldn't really find anything that was open. And this is a good opportunity to kind of test out the famous Korean convenience store iced coffees. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you buy basically a cup of ice and then you buy like a bag of coffee and you combine them. And Tiffany really liked this. Is her preferred form of fast food coffee for the trip. Once we got coffee, we kind of wandered up the Gangnam streets towards the Han River, and there's really not that much to see, I'm not gonna lie. We wandered up this thing called K-Star Road where there's all these little bears that are kind of painted to represent different K-pop groups, but they're all kind of like older group, and that's pretty much the only thing we saw. We walked for seriously like an hour. So at this point we were just like, you know what, time for another coffee. And we walked down to this little coffee place. It's a chain. It's called Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, and they serve these Dalgona lattes. If you're in Korea, you gotta get a Dalgona latte. Everybody loves these Dalgona lattes. But basically we walked all the way to the north part of Gangnam. We're at the Han River, and we did something kind of stupid, which is we walked over this bridge. This bridge over the Han River took about 30 minutes to walk across. Nobody was walking besides us. Everyone was just biking over it or, you know, driving obviously. But once we finally got to the other side, we were right at Seoul Forest. And when you're in a Korean park, you gotta go to the convenience store and you gotta get fried chicken on a stick. and I can confirm it's delicious. That's a 10 out of 10 experience. Seoul Forest is like a cute little park. All these families are hanging out. Once we did our time there, another cafe, we're going to Rain Report. So this one was Rain Report Croissant, and they had all these croissants that were different colors. It was pretty aesthetic in there. Everything was all black. We got this like Earl Grey muffin croissant and this black drink with this ice thing on it. It kind of tasted like cherry soda, but it was super chill. You take off your shoes, you lay on these couches, you look at the river thing they have set up. It had all this cool decor. But as we were sitting at this cafe, I started feeling super sick, like I was coming down with a cold. I was kind of toughing it out until we got home, and I researched this cold medicine, and I came across this thing you drink called Pancold. I was basically chugging these little bottles for 3 days straight, but I was kind of out of commission for the rest of this day. Which brings us to day 3. We went to Hongdae. Now we got up kind of early again, which was just like the natural time we were getting up. We weren't setting alarms or anything, but we were getting up at around 8 a.m. and nobody was around, like completely empty streets. So we wandered to Hongdae, which is not really a daytime place. It's kind of more known for the nighttime scene. And we get there and it's just completely empty. But we did see there were a lot more cafes in this area. So we were wandering around looking for cafes. And it turns out that's where all the people are, because all of them were so crowded we couldn't even get in. So we had a quick little meal. Tiffany ate this fried chicken bowl and she almost died because of how spicy it was. I had this delicious udon soup. It was perfect for my cold. So also in Hongdae, we booked this experience that's kind of been, I don't know, trendy, called a color analysis. Basically what they do is they take every imaginable color swatch and they put it on you. And they see what looks best on you, what brings out your features, and what colors you should stay away from. I'll be honest, I thought this would be dumb, but it actually was pretty interesting. She gave us this little color swatches that were our colors, and for the rest of the trip, we were like holding them up to clothes, seeing what we would buy in our colors. And it's not just specific colors, it's like different hues or saturations, and like on the gray scale where you look best from black to white. Tiffany was all black or all white, and I was kind of some of the middler grays, and then Tiffany was very high saturated colors and I was very like muted colors like this. And it was super interesting. She would put one color on Tiffany and it would look great on her, and she'd put the same color on me and it would look terrible, and vice versa, of course. And the best part of all this was right next to the T1 base camp. T1's Korea's most successful and well-known League of Legends team, and this place is basically another PC bang that's set up to be like kind of a place for fans to go, and they sell merch and stuff. And again, we didn't go into the PC bang, but I promise, keep watching. But we saw more League of Legends merch. I took my picture with Faker. I had a great time. So we finally went to a cafe in this area. It was called the Daeng. I don't know what it means, but for Tiffany, this was probably her favorite cafe on the whole trip. They had these like chive cream cheese pastries, and Tiffany got this coffee that was like thick, I guess. She loved it. She would tell you it was like the consistency of like cold foam, but I swear it was like the middle of like a whoopie pie. It was so thick. Okay, so now if the day wasn't good enough, we decided to go to what was actually probably my favorite part of all of Korea. It was a Korean spa called Aquafield. So we also saw this on TikTok and it was pretty cheap. So we decided, you know what, let's check it out. So my impression was going to be like a relaxing spa with like all these different rooms and massage chairs, etc. What I wasn't prepared for was this place is in the biggest mall I've ever seen in my life. And this mall is packed with people. But tucked away at the very top is the spa. So you basically go in, it's separated by men and women. You go in your respective locker room / bathing area, which is all nude, by the way, and there's tons of people around, so if that's not your jam, definitely stay away. But you bathe in one of those like sheeted shower things, and then you relax in like the hot baths that have like bubbles and like all these different temperatures. Like they have a cold bath, they have a warm bath, they have like really hot baths, they have a really hot sauna. And then once you're done, you kind of go back into the main area where you can kind of meet up with your significant other, or everyone comes back together. And that's where all the sauna rooms are, and you can kind of see each one has a different like theme. They all have different temperatures. Some are like mildly warm and some of them are like sweating hot. And they have a little cafeteria you can get food from. There's massage chairs. You can go outside and relax in like the foot bath, and you kind of overlook this little city. Really a 10 out of 10 experience again, and definitely my highlight for this trip. Okay, next day was kind of a weird experience. If you don't know, North Korea and South Korea are still technically at war, even though there's been a 80-year ceasefire at this point. But there's a line that divides them called the DMZ, or Demilitarized Zone. And it's kind of turned into a little bit of a tourist attraction, almost like an amusement park. It's really strange, honestly. I do really recommend it though. You're gonna hear a lot of interesting little stories about how the people of Korea were separated during the war, attempted invasions. Like the scariest part of this was going down into tunnels that the North Koreans dug back in the 70s, and they actually dug under the DMZ as an infiltration route. It's really scary stuff. You come to the end and there's just an iron door and it's pitch black on the other side with a security camera. It's like right out of a zombie movie. And I don't want to be too hard on it. It's really a good experience. You should definitely go if you're there. I think it's like the #1 tourist attraction in Korea, but it took up most of the morning. It didn't take the whole day. It's really not that far from Seoul, maybe an hour drive tops. But we got back, we had to eat Korean barbecue before we left, so we decided, you know what, let's just go in. And of course it's like 3 o'clock, which means there's nobody around. And after that, Tiffany kind of just got her hair done, and it was more just wandering around. We went to this place called Sulbing Cafe. They have this dessert called bingsul, which is basically, it's like shaved ice, but they put a bunch of toppings on it. It was pretty good, but at the end of the day, like if you're not eating toppings, you're just eating ice. So I would say the more toppings you get, the better. Okay, so the next morning we woke up, we went to kind of another, like, I guess TikTok famous cafe. It's called Onion Cafe, and it's super aesthetic. The vibes are great, but at this point in the trip, I started to realize that, my God, everything in this country is so sweet. We got this like chive onion bagel thing, and it was sweet for some reason. I don't think Tiffany minded so much. Like, it wasn't like so sweet you couldn't eat it, but I was starting to get like a tummy ache. I couldn't handle it straight early in the morning. I'm definitely more of a salty guy. I'm not a sweets guy. But that said though, if you do want to go, I would say go early, because we got in there pretty much first and the line built up behind us quickly. But the downside is when we first arrived, all the pastries weren't out yet on the table. So we kind of grabbed our pastries, and then by the time we checked out, you know, more pastries were coming in behind us, like things we probably would have gotten instead of the stuff we got. So kind of pros and cons there. I'd say this place is probably a little overrated, but if you want to check it out, you definitely do it. So the big event for today was we had another Airbnb experience coming up. We like to book these like Airbnb experiences. This one was a photo shoot in Hanbok, and basically the like Airbnb guide would take you around the Gyeongbok Palace. Sorry, I'm trying with these names. But we had a little time to kill before that, so we went to this kind of historical, I guess, village called Bokcheong Hanok Village. I've heard this area gets crowded, but again, there was nobody there at, you know, 8, 9 a.m., which is a great day. We had a beautiful clear sky and we got some great pictures out of it. Just to explain this area, it's kind of like a historical village where they sort of preserve the old architecture, but it's kind of like modernized a little bit, or like renovated, I guess. But after those pictures, it was kind of time for the Airbnb experience. And honestly, this experience was so fun. I'll probably link to it down below. Jason, he was a great guy, took amazing pictures. He was so enthusiastic. But basically how it works is the Korean government, they decided, hey, if you wear a hanbok into this palace, you get free entry. So you're kind of just walking around. Jason's like telling you how to pose. He's really confident with his camera, you know. Super nice guy. He was so enthused the whole time. He was so excited for the photos we were getting. And honestly, these are some of the first photos we show people. They just have like that Korean aesthetic, I guess. So overall, great experience. After that, we went back to the hotel. Tiffany had this like bibimbap place that was a Michelin star restaurant booked, and it was kind of right near where we were. So we decided to walk over to it. It's kind of almost right at the base of Seoul Tower, actually. This is actually so good. They kind of give you all the ingredients separately and you assemble it yourself, and you order on a machine. So it wasn't too crowded. The service was pretty quick. We were in and out of there in probably 45 minutes. We got this cheese kimchi thing. It was so good. It tasted like pizza. I would go back just for this thing. And now Tiffany really wanted to get her nails done. And as you probably guessed by now, it's my childhood dream to go to a Bang. So we decided to split off. She got her nails done, and I'll say it was pretty cheap, and they did a really amazing job actually. And she told me about that experience. She really enjoyed herself. So on to my Bang experience, or I should say my first one. And basically what these things are is you walk down a staircase off of a main street into a basement, and you go down and you're met with like the sound of like the clickiest keyboards and Korean curse words. It's like super high-end computers and peripherals. So I go down, I sit down at a computer, and I'm trying for like 20 minutes to like log in, figure out like how do I get this computer to turn on. I'm just holding my phone up, Google translating things, and eventually I realized there's just no way I was figuring this out. So I decided no big deal, just try another one. These things are on every block in Seoul. So I walk a little bit, I find another one, I go in, and it's using like the same exact software as the first one. So I was like, oh, this is doomed. But I walked out, I did some research online, and armed with my knowledge, I went back in, and I was finally able to sit down at a computer and play games. Only to find out that most games are locked to Korean servers, and you need like a Korean government ID in order to log into them. So that was kind of a bummer, but South Korea has some of the fastest internet in the world, so you can literally just go on Steam and download any game you want. It takes 5 to 15 minutes depending on how big the game is. So I was entertained. I'm going to make a full guide on what I learned about how you can use a PC bong as a non-Korean speaker because I really couldn't find anything. So if that's something you're interested in, keep an eye out for that. Okay, and then to end the night, we had another Airbnb experience actually. This one was like a food tour / night hike around the old city wall in the Dondaemun area. And it was a nice little hike. Seoul's very mountainous if you don't know. So you got to kind of hike up a little bit and like sit on the balcony of this cafe / restaurant thing that overlooked the whole city. It was really beautiful. We got some good pictures and some good memories. The guy who was leading the tour was super cool. Lots of interesting stories about the city. And it's fun to get to talk to somebody who was born and raised and lived in Seoul their whole life about like what their experiences were like. So after we hiked around the mountains a little bit, you kind of walk down, you end the tour, you eat some delicious Korean fried chicken. You can't go wrong. Okay, only a couple days left. And Tiffany booked a pretty sizable tattoo for this day. It took him about 4 hours. So as you can guess, I literally just went into a PC bong and I played Apex Legends the whole time. And if you're looking for games to play in PC bongs, basically you have to look at games like Apex where the servers are in Japan, or you can make like a Japanese League of Legends account. But I just played Apex because my regular account worked fine there. Anyway, that basically ate up most of the morning. It was fun for me, and Tiffany got her tattoo she always gets while traveling. I lived out my dream of being a degenerate in a PC bong. By the way, walking out of a PC bong after spending like 4 hours in there is a crazy experience. You walk up the staircase, it's like you're in a totally different world. Anyway, it was getting kind of dark, so we went out to this little cafe that we stumbled upon that I think they like rescued and adopted out like cats and dogs and foxes. I'm not really sure. We just ate a little waffle and Tiffany was looking at the animals and playing with them. And we were in Hongdae at this point, so we got to see some busking and we did some shopping. By the way, Hongdae, completely different experience at night. Definitely go at night. You'll get to see some cool stuff. And when we were there, it happened to be the week before the World Finals of League of Legends in Korea, so they were filming a bunch of stuff. There was like a huge camera crew. I got some footage of the stuff they were filming, and it was cool to see it in the promo in a couple weeks. But that basically ate up the whole day, which brings us to our kind of last day in Korea. So we were kind of hanging around the Myeongdong area, which is where we sort of were the whole time because it's where our hotel was. But we hadn't tried any street food yet, so we figured, we'll kind of hang out here. And Tiffany also had like a med spa appointment in the area. So we went to this place called Cafe Swith Sol, which kind of looked like a tourist trap, so we didn't go in before. It had all these cool decorations and it was in like a prime location. But it was honestly probably one of the best cafes we went to the whole time. Because at this point in the trip, we kind of abandoned hope for the nice cafes. Like we were just getting our coffee at this chain called Mega Coffee because they had, well, mega coffees and, you know, good advertising.
MGC coffee.
You can't escape those ads. But this cafe was great. The food was good, the coffees were delicious, and they had this whole deaf outreach program where the staff was deaf and they had these little cartoon characters teaching you sign language. The vibes were good, everything was well decorated. I would definitely go to this cafe. So Tiffany had this med spa appointment. I was kind of trying to figure out how you get their money back on all the tax-free shopping we did. They have like these kiosks all around Seoul that you don't have to go to the airport to get your money back. You can just do it right at these kiosks. But anyway, we finally got our chance to eat some street food. We just got these dumplings that were pretty good, but there's some kind of festival being set up or something, so it was a little crowded in the area. And we also came across this little booth where some guy was drawing caricatures, so we figured, we'll just get one done. Why not? That'll be fun. And he did such a good job. We actually showed him a picture of our animals, and we had him do one of our animals too. So after that, we're walking down the street, and we see this huge line for a restaurant. It has all these like Michelin star accolades on the side of it. So we decided like, all right, let's just get in line. And the line was moving so fast. We finally got inside, and it turns out this place is like giant. And they're like turning tables over. They're getting people in and out so fast. The menu only had 4 items, so we just got 2 of them. And it was pretty good. It was kind of an unexpected little side trip we went on, and the whole experience lasted like 30 minutes. We were fed and we were out of there. So we're still walking down these streets, and at this point, Tiffany's kind of like missing our cats, and she sees this cat cafe. And I don't know, we've been in cat cafes before. We hung out in this cat cafe for like an hour just getting to know all these cats. I don't know what to say about it. But it was on the 5th floor of this building, and as we're walking down the stairs of this building to leave, there's like a karaoke place on the 3rd floor, and you can hear people like belting out songs in there. We decided it looked fun, so we were like, all right, let's buy a half hour and see what it's all about. And this is probably one of the most memorable things we did. It was so much fun. the rest of the trip and when we were in Japan, I kept begging Tiffany, let's do more karaoke, but we never ended up going back. Definitely a regret I have. Next time we go back, we got to do more karaoke. And that's pretty much how we ended the trip. We did a little bit more wandering the streets at night, which was super cool. We kind of stayed in more of like a nightlife-y kind of area. So it was nice to walk down these tiny little back alley streets with these huge neon signs and just kind of people watch. And that's basically it. The next morning, we flew out to Japan. I will say one last stop in the actual airport itself, Riot Games, the people who make League of Legends, have like this giant booth. You can do some like League of Legends / Valorant challenges to get prizes. I thought like, hey, I could get some free stuff, but they were actually like real challenges. Like I failed both of them, but it was cool. We got to like see all the cool like statues or whatever. Like we got to take pictures of ourselves. There's some fun activities you can do in there. And that is it for Korea. You can look forward to my next video, which will be on Japan. And let me tell you, I am so excited to make that video. I love Japan. It is one of my favorite places on earth. And we got a lot more travel coming up too. So Hong Kong, Amsterdam, there's gonna be some great stuff ahead. So please stick around and check it out. Thanks for watching. Peace.